Welcome back to Globesweeper Hex Puzzler. We go from one very lengthy and quite difficult level to another relatively lengthy and fairly difficult level. Today we'll start on Tetra, the first triple mechanic level in the game that uses max chains, line clues, and area clues. I'll wait with these two cluster levels here for a bit later. So let's get started. It's gonna take a while, I think, but we'll see. Since there are line clues, press the X button on your keyboard just to mark all of them at the same time, and then we'll just unmark every line that is completed just to keep track of all the lines. I find that's easier and clearer. So, this level is actually just, it's not one puzzle, it's a sequence of several puzzles. You know, there's this puzzle right here is completely separate from the puzzle right over here, for example, and so on. So you can do them in any order, but let's just go for it, I suppose, with this first one. So, to break into this first one, there's two different ways you can look at it. You can look at this 3 clue or this 2 clue, or 2 line and 3 line. Let's look at the 2 line, that's a bit easier. So, in this entire area, this max 1 chain in the area clue means that if we mark any tile at all, let's say we mark this one, then no tile that is touching that tile can be marked because we can maximum have 1 tile in a chain. We cannot have 2 tiles in a chain or more than that. So that's kind of the key to this area, and to start we look at this 2. So in these 3 tiles, we need 2 tiles marked. And how can we do that? You can also think about it as we need to remove 1 tile. And if we were to remove this tile, what happens then? We would have to mark these 2 tiles, which doesn't work for the max 1 chain because it would be 2 in a row. So at most, we know we can only use one of these 2 tiles. And because of that, we need to mark this tile. And when we have that tile marked, we know that this tile can't connect to any other tile, or it would not apply or comply with the max 1 chain area clue here. So we can disconnect all of the clues or the tiles next to it. Now we get a 3 here. Once again, we can disconnect them. A 2 here. And then now there's only 1 more tile in this 2 chain, or a 2 line. So that's done. And then once again, we can disconnect this tile. Now this 2 line is done, so we can remove this tile and the line. And now this line of 2 already has 2 tiles, so these are gone, and the line is complete. This one needs this tile. Once again, we need to disconnect it because of the max 1 chain, which gives us a 3 here. Once again, disconnect it, and then here we have 1, 2, 3, and we have to disconnect both of them. So there we go. That's the first little section here. Now let's move on up here, I suppose. So here we have a max 2 chain in this entire area, and to break into this, you can just look at this 5 area clue here. So in this area, we need 5 tiles total, and if we just count this line, we need 2 of these 3 tiles. In this line, we need 1 of these 3 tiles, and none of those overlap, so there will be 2 here, plus 1, making 3, and then we only have 2 more tiles left in this entire area. So both of these have to be marked, and then we'll have 1 here and 2 there. But that's all you can do here for now. Then we move on to this 3 here. So in this area, we need 3 tiles marked, and if we look at this and this line, this and this line, I mean, we can say something here. So think about the minimum amount of tiles that we will need in this area. So we need 4 in this line, we have 2 tiles outside of it, so that means that even if both of these are marked, then we will still need at least 2 more out of these 3 tiles. So either 2 or 3 tiles of these 3. And for this 3 line, we have 1 tile outside of it, we can have another tile, but then we still will need 1 more tile at least, 1 or 2 tiles in these 3 tiles. And because we need at least 2 tiles here and at least 1 tile here, and none of those overlap, that means that the 3 will be fulfilled with 1 tile here and 2 tiles there. So these tiles you can remove, and that also means that we will have to use both of these outside tiles because we can't use 3 here. We can only use 2 here and 1 here. So we get these 2 and this one marked for the 3. And that gets us a 2 here, so we can mark these 2. And then we know that the, well, I guess we can just look at the 3 here. It's easier. I was gonna say we can look at the 3 area clue here. We have 2 tiles. This one needs 1 of these, so we can remove these 2. That's totally fine, but you can also just look at this 3 line that we just have completed, so these tiles are removed. And then there's only 1 more tile for the 1 here, which now completes this 4 line. And this 1 line is complete. And then this 1 tile is done. We got a 2 tile there. This 3 area is now done, so this tile can't be marked. That gets us a 1 here, which now lets us mark this tile for the 2 line. And this tile lets us mark this one for the 1 line. So there we go. You basically don't need this max 2 chain at all. It's completely unnecessary, but you can also use it for certain things, like when you get, I don't know, these 2, I guess. You can just know that these 2 clues can't be marked or something. I don't know. I don't find that useful in this situation. So here, we have another section here with a max 3 chain. This might have been the one I wanted to save for last, because it's kind of difficult, but no, I think this one is fine. Yeah, this one has 3 places we can look at right away. Right here, we have a line of 3, and there are only 3 tiles, so all of them have to be marked. Right here, we have also a line of 3 with only 3 tiles, so we can mark all of those. And right here, we also have a line of 3 tiles with only 3 line with only 3 tiles. So we get all of those tiles for free. Now we can look at this max 3 chain. So in this entire area, we cannot have any golden tile chain of more than 3 tiles. And right here, we already, and also it means we have to have at least 1 that is exactly 3, but that's kind of irrelevant at this point. Right here, we have 3 tiles connected up, which means we cannot mark any of the tiles connected to it, or we would make 4 or more tiles in a chain. So these you can remove, which gives us a 2 here, and a 2 there. The 1 here, this 2 lets us now mark these 2 tiles, which in turn completes this 2 line here. So you can remove this tile, and then this 2 lets us mark this tile. And now we have to look at the tiles that cannot be marked. Actually, we have this line as well of 2 that's already done, so this tile is gone, which lets us mark this tile. But now we don't know which one of these tiles will be marked for the 3. But if we look at the 3 max chain tile, if we, for instance, look at this tile cannot be marked gold because that would connect up these 2 tiles and these 2 tiles, making a chain of 5, which doesn't work for the max chain. So we have to keep these separate, and we have to remove that tile, which gives us a 2 and lets us remove this one. And similarly, right here, if we were to mark this tile, then we would get a chain of 4 here, which doesn't work, so we have to remove it, and the final tile in the 3 has to be this tile. Alright, I think it's only 1 more puzzle here. So in this one, we need 15 total, but that's kind of not useful right now. So how you break into this one is with this max 1 chain, similar to the first puzzle that we started with. This max 1 chain and this 4 line, if we look at how many tiles we have outside of the 4, we have, or outside of the 1 rather, we have 3 tiles, which means that within these 2 tiles we will need at least 1 gold tile for the 4. But since we have a max 1 chain here, we can't use more than 1 of these tiles, or they would be a chain of 2. So maximum we have 1 here, and minimum we have 1 here. So we know there's 1 of these 2 tiles marked, and we have to mark these 3 outer tiles for the 4. Now we look at this max 2 chain here, because now we have 2 in a row, so we can't connect up this or this tile. Keep in mind that does not apply to this one, because that is outside of this max 2 area. It doesn't care that this could have had 12 tiles in a chain, but that max 2 only cares about what's in its own area. So from here, we cannot mark this tile, and we cannot mark this tile. That gives us a 2 here, and now again, we have 2 tiles in a chain here, so this tile cannot be marked. We can remove that, and that gives us this one for the 2 here. Now, this... No, not that one. Not yet. I guess we just look at this one. I feel like there's something I'm missing, but, I mean, we can look at this one. So here, we have 2 in a line, with only 3 spots remaining, because we didn't get any of the ones over here. And, once again, similar to the 4, we can only use one of these 2 tiles at maximum, because we can't use both of them, or it would be a chain of 2. So we know there's gonna be 1 tile here, and we have to mark this tile. And because we mark this tile, we can now remove the neighboring tiles, because we can't make a chain that's more than 1. That gets us 2 here and the 2 here, and once again, disconnect them from everything around them. And now this 4 is done, and this 2 has only 1 more tile, so that's marked. And this 2 lets us mark this tile. And now you don't look at this max 3 chain, which you would kind of logically jump to. Instead, we now just count the 15 tiles that we need here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we need 5 more tiles in this area. And in this line, we have 2 tiles, we need 1 more. In this line, we have 1 tile, we need 1 more. So we needed 5 tiles in these total. We have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all of these have to be marked. That in turn completes this 3 line, and yeah, that completes this 3 line, so this has to be marked. And now, this max 3 chain lets us know that these 3 cannot connect up to another tile, so that has to be removed, and then we get the final tile there. Again, kind of a mess to explain some of these, and it's just gonna get worse from here on, so that'll be fun. Now, let's get into the first groups mechanic level, called groups. So you can read this if you want to, but I'm gonna explain it anyway. Let's press the X button on the keyboard, since we have line clues, just to mark them off when we're done with them and keep track of them easier. So, the groups tiles have these squiggly brackets, whatever they're called, I forget. And it just lets us know that for this 3, within these 5 tiles here, we need 3 separate groups of reactive tiles, of gold tiles. It doesn't matter how many there are. Let's say we hypothetically had 100 tiles connected to this 3, we could have, you know, a chain of 20 or a chain of 1, it doesn't matter, as long as they have at least 1 gap between them, making 3 separate groups. Because of that, there's only 1 configuration to make 3 groups within these 5 tiles. We have to disconnect these 2 tiles, because if we have this one marked, then we have to remove this, and then it's its own separate group. And then if we can mark this one, and then we have to disconnect it, and then we can mark this one, and that's the only way to have 3 gold tiles that don't touch each other, basically. So, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but I mean, it's pretty intuitive, so we can mark these ones and remove these 2. That gets us 2 3s here. This line now is already done. It needed 2 tiles in 2 groups. This one is done, and this one lets us mark this. Now, this second area is a little trickier. So here, we have 2 tiles marked already, but this lets us know that they have to be connected up in 1 group. So we could have all 6 of these marked, or 4 of these marked, or 5 of these marked, in any way. The point is we have to somehow connect up either these 2 tiles or these 2 tiles, because we have to make it just 1 group. And you can figure out which one you can mark 2 of by just looking at these side lines. So here, we need 1 tile in this entire line, so at most we can have 1 of these 2. And here we have 2 tiles, and there's no grouping information here, but we have 2 tiles. And, like I said, we have to either connect up these 2 or these 2, because if both sides here would have a gap, then the one could not connect up to this lower tile, or the top tile cannot connect up to the lower tile. Man, I feel like I'm explaining this poorly, but, I mean, it makes sense. So, you need these 2 tiles to make this one section, because here, on this side, even if this 1 tile is between here, we can't connect up the bottom and the top. And then this line is now done. We can remove this, and then we remove this one, and get this final tile. Oh boy, I should probably, think these through a little bit more. how I phrase things. Alright, so here in the next one, we can look at this line here. We need 2 tiles total, but they have to be in one group, which means that if we were to mark this tile, we can't have them in one group, because here would be a separate group in this line. So the only way to have 2 tiles in one group is to have these 2 tiles. So we can mark these and remove this one. And then we get a 0 here, and this 1. And now we can look at this other line here, where we need 2 groups total. That's all we know. It could be 2 tiles, it could be 3 tiles, doesn't matter. But we know that we need 2 separate groups. So whether this one is marked or not, we know that we also need to mark this tile to make it a separate group from this top one. And that completes this 2 line, which gives us a 4 here, which completes this 2, and lets us remove this tile. Alright, second to last puzzle I think here. So in this one, we have 3 tiles here out of these 4, but they have to be in one group, which means one chain, essentially. So either we will have these 3 tiles marked, or we'll have these 3 tiles marked. So either way, these 2 middle tiles have to be marked, and then either the top or the bottom will be marked. And that completes this 1 line here, and now we get a 2 group clue here. Once again, we don't know how many of these are marked, but we know we need 2 groups. If we mark this one, then it's still part of this group here. If we mark this one, it's also part of this group here. So the only way to add another group of tiles for this 2 is to mark this tile. So we have to mark this tile, and we have to unmark this tile. We still don't know if this one is marked or removed, so that's the whole point there with a group. It could be 1 and then 3, or it could be 1 and 2, or it could have been 2 and 2, so on. And then here, we have 1 group, but we don't know how many tiles, so it could be 1 here, it could be 2, but we know now that we can't mark this tile because that would be 2 groups in this line. So that's gone, which gives us a 0 here, and then the 2 here, which gives us this 3 line here, and this 1 is complete, and then we get the final tile there. Alright, now the final little puzzle that's also kind of, it's similar to this one with the 1 group, but it's a little tricky. So here, we have a line of 2 tiles that have to be in 2 groups. So either we can have 1 tile here, 1 tile here, or 1 tile here, 1 tile here, or 1 tile here, 1 tile here. The key point here is that we cannot have both of these tiles marked at the same time, or we would have 2 tiles in 1 group. And for this 5, we know there's 1 hole here somewhere in these 6 tiles. 5 of these 6 tiles will be marked. And as I said, we can't have both of these marked together. So either we have, the top and bottom, but then the 5 doesn't have enough, or we have the bottom and this one, or the top and this one. So either way, one of these 2 tiles will have to have a hole in it, which in turn means this 5 needs all 4 of these other tiles marked, because we'll get 4 and then 1 of these. And that now completes this line of 2 tiles in 1 group, so we can remove these ones. This 2 is done, and the 2 lets us mark this one. And now, like I said, we have 2 tiles in 2 groups, which means we cannot connect up 1 to the tile we already have, so we have to remove this one, and then we mark this tile, and remove the final one. Oh boy. Yeah, either it's because the levels are getting more complicated, or I'm just having an off day, but I really feel like those were kind of sloppy explanations, but hopefully it's sufficient anyway. And I think I'm gonna have to leave it there for today, because diving into another level would probably take quite a while. But we'll see how many we can do next time. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you then. Bye-bye!